Good morning. So welcome to Unite LA. I'm curious, how many of you have been to this event before? At least once. Okay, good number of hands. We're starting a new tradition this morning. This is the first time in the United States we've had a dedicated track of 2 days of content for automotive and transportation companies and frankly people that are more broadly in the manufacturing space and all of the companies that work with those types of companies. This type of event is a new thing for us, and it's really about a new commitment Unity has to this marketplace. Over the last year, and since the last time some of you went to an event that was called Unite, we have created a dedicated automotive track. The first actually ran in June in Berlin this year. We have built a dedicated automotive engineering team, so there are people from the automotive and Unity spaces building custom product. We've launched custom product. We've put engineers in the field where all of you are located, and we actually have a dedicated roadmap of automotive features. So Unity is very much open for business and here to support you. And we're excited to be able to spend 2 days with you, share with you what's coming in the future so you can get a peek at what you'll be able to do over the next year. And very importantly, give you a chance to learn from each other. So I hope you enjoyed 2 days of tracks as well as the keynote tonight. Please take advantage of all the different people that are in the room. You're many of the best and brightest in automotive. There are people here from around the world, not just from the United States. So take advantage of everything we have to offer. And with that, I'm going to introduce Ed Barton, who's our Senior Product Manager in Automotive. Ed.
Thank you very much, Tim. And if I can switch this. Okay. There we go. Okay, good. That it would be bad to fail on my first task of the morning. So, good morning, everyone. As Tim mentioned, I'm Ed Martin. I'm product manager for automotive. My background is in the automotive industry, in the world of CAD, and in visualization technology. And I'm working to bring all of those things together for many of the customers who are here today, and you can see a number of the logos here of consultancies, agencies, manufacturing customers, AEC customers, and customers in related industries that are here at Unite LA this week. And I think that's testament to the fact of the value that Unity offers to customers in the application of VR, AR, and other real-time technology to the industry. So I'm going to give you a very brief introduction about Unity. I'm sure many of you know Unity already, but I'll get some grounding for everyone to follow on before we get into the real meat of the day, which is really all of the exciting technology discussions that our partners and customers are demonstrating for you today. So first of all, just the reach of Unity. You know, the only way to put it, it's measured in billions. Billions of devices, billions of minutes, billions of people, billions of apps that are deployed throughout the world on devices. Many of these are mobile devices, but increasingly, many of these are AR and VR devices that are run on the more than 25 different platforms that are supported by Unity. And little trigger finger there. And as you can see, Unity is used for the vast majority of AR and VR content developed in the world today. And what I'm going to talk about briefly and what you're going to see from some of the presentations today is how we're pushing the envelope to drive even more technology leadership. And that leadership comes from Unity's base of developers and marketers and business development people in more than 27 countries around the world. And specifically for automotive, our automotive team that is located in all of the major automotive capitals of the world. Within automotive specifically, we are focused on 5 main use cases. The first of those is design experience, so being able to experience your design in real time, immersively or interactively. Training and guidance, VR training applications, AR guidance for everyone from maintenance technicians to manufacturing operators to vehicle owners. HMI development, so using Unity for the development of touchscreens in vehicles. Sales and marketing, of course, with the, one of the most valuable applications of Unity, I believe, is for the creation of sales configurators. And then finally, autonomous simulation, or as I like to say, cars learning how to drive by playing video games, which is kind of a funny way of saying it, but there's a very serious message in there as we've seen in some cases earlier this year, physical testing can be a downright dangerous situation, especially when you get into some of the more challenging scenarios that autonomous vehicles can face. That can be done much more safely within a virtual realm. So what's our commitment to you for the rest of this year and into 2019? So first of all, it's increased investment into industry-specific R&D and support teams. We're staffing up within the R&D teams within Unity. We're building on top of the already incredibly strong engine, real-time 3D engine that Unity provides, to provide industry-specific functionality. And I'll briefly talk about some of this later in the presentation. We're developing new partnerships with system integrators and independent developers, because really, we provide the platform, but it's you who provides the applications, the capabilities that customers depend upon. New professional services and enterprise support offerings. So one of the things that is really important is for customers to succeed, technology is absolutely a piece of what we have to provide you. But beyond technology, we need to provide you with the kind of support and professional services so that you can be successful using Unity. And frankly, by providing you with that assistance, we also learn in the process. And those learnings are folded directly back into our R&D efforts. And then finally, new features and capabilities targeting automotive needs. So those 5 use cases that I spoke about before, it's providing the capabilities to allow you to use Unity more deeply and more powerfully than ever before. I'm going to talk really briefly about just a few selected items on our roadmap. This is by no means a comprehensive list. I tried putting the comprehensive list on one slide, and I couldn't even read it on my laptop screen, much less people sitting in the back of this room trying to read it. But there are a few different things I just want to pull out as highlights to give you examples. So first of all, as you see around 2018.3 and shortly thereafter, you're going to see some solution templates coming from us. Some toolkits for simulation, for providing content scenarios as a kind of a starter set of scenarios to be able to simulate an autonomous vehicle driving in a city, a suburban setting, and a more rural highway setting. Also, sensor templates, where you're going to have access to generic sensors for everything from LiDAR to RGB cameras and other sensors that are needed for autonomous simulation. An immersive design template that allows you to more easily create immersive and collaborative design scenarios without the intensive level of coding that you might be used to today in Unity. Because one of the things we want to be able to do for customers is to make it easier for you as professionals to implement. And many people in industry, with automotive industry, aerospace industry, white goods industries, your business is not necessarily delivering AR and VR applications. Your business is delivering or selling cars, and therefore we want to make it easier for you to develop applications like immersive design apps. We're very focused as well on materials and import. As you know, we've partnered with Pixies for importing CAD and other data, and we're also working to bring in materials. We have AXF importer working today to bring in AXF files from scans from X-Rite. We have an XTex importer working now, so that it's another format from a company in Europe to provide relatively low-cost scans so you can scan in materials. We provide support for algorithmic substance materials. And Algorithmic recently launched a whole set of automotive materials. And those can be used, all of these can be used both within the lightweight render pipeline as well as the HD render pipeline. And we're providing some yet to be announced exciting features that are going to enable the import of geometry and materials from other applications as well to help streamline the data pipeline from the data you already have to bring that data into 3D for real-time experiences. We want to make that process as easy and as quick as possible. Next spring, you're going to see some improvements in workflow integration with Pixies, which is already an incredibly powerful tool. It's the best tool on the market for bringing CAD data into real-time 3D. We're going to make that workflow even better, even more integrated, even more powerful. Material assignment templates to automate the assignment of materials based on metadata and other information. And some additional import formats, as well as VR for HDRP. You're actually going to see, if you go down to the show floor, you can already see VR and HDRP. And then next summer, you're going to see some licensing improvements. We already have customers today using our new closed network and floating licensing models. It's limited availability, but there are customers running it today. And that is something that's been a really, really critical need from enterprise customers. And we're going to open that up to people. So you'll see more details on that coming later, as well as a configurator solutions template to be able to provide, to develop sales configurators based upon Unity more easily than ever before. Like I said, this is just a snapshot of some of the capabilities. And to kind of, I can sit up here and talk all I want, but I love showing just images and videos to show the potential of what Unity's capable of. And here on this next slide, this is a video that was created by our friends at Light and Shadows, who are based in Paris. And Light and Shadows has worked with Lexus, and they've developed a video. This all runs in HDRP. This is running 4K real-time in Unity, and this is a video recorded from Unity. And this shows the potential for the kind of quality that HDRP can deliver. So I just want to give a shout out to Light and Shadows here. The data was all prepared in Pixies. The Light and Shadows team developed the video, the configurator with all of the different material options and variant options. And I think it shows what's possible today in real time. I mean, really, can you imagine seeing something at this level of quality just a couple of years ago in real time in VR? No. It'd be mind-boggling. It still kind of takes my breath away looking at the quality here. So, and the depth and the richness of those materials. So this is just really exciting to me, and I think that it's a testament to what our partners and customers are able to achieve with Unity. All right. So, I would like to thank you for your time listening to me this morning. And now what I would like to do is move on to the real value in this session, and it's the presenters who are showing all the exciting technology that they're developing. First of all, I'd like to introduce Rewind. Rewind's an immersive content studio of creatives and technologists that it's made a name for itself, creating innovative, world-class AR and VR experiences. Notably, the award-winning Jaguar I-Pace concept launch, a groundbreaking social VR experience that's been hailed as redefining the future of automotive product launches. Today, they're here with their partners from HP and Intel to reveal some of the exciting VR tools they have in development for the automotive industry and how they're putting their expertise and creativity to work to revolutionize the car buying process. So please, welcome them to the stage. Thank you.
Oh, they do work. Marvelous.
Both of them, hopefully.
Maybe. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for the introduction. I always feel a little embarrassed by someone saying all our accolades for the last couple of years. But I was very lucky last year to speak as part of the keynote presentation for Vision on our work with Red Bull and the HoloLens. And this year to be invited back to open up the automotive track has been really exciting. So this morning what we're going to be talking about is our vision for where we want to take the opportunity to use real-time engines to solve one of the big problems within the automotive industry.
Yep. And we brought some of our partners from Intel and HP along with us. I'll bring you guys up to the stage. So we've been, I guess I can run this from here. So with me I have Kumar from Intel. Good to see you. And Alan from HP. Here is your mic. So we've been working closely with partners like HP and Intel to approach the automotive industry and provide real solutions back that solve hard problems in VR. We've also had some great support from companies like Audi, and as we jump into it, we'll be showing you some sort of a live demo of some prototype software we put together. But before we get into that, I'd love to turn it over to Alan quickly to talk a bit more about how HP is approaching VR and some of the solutions you have for the automotive industry.
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everybody. Great to be here in LA. I'm Alan Buckner. I'm with HP's VR division. We're based in Fort Collins, Colorado. And actually, I think that as you see the four of us on stage, it's actually, I think, very indicative of what it takes to deliver world-class VR experiences. We've been doing VR hardware for a couple years now. We actually started out of our gaming group. Our Omen gaming group created a wearable backpack for VR. We announced that, I think at E3, big gaming show, and an interesting thing started happening. I'm based in our workstation, so our high-end compute division. We started getting phone calls from customers in architecture, our big customers in healthcare, our customers in automotive from around the world saying, hey, I saw that wearable VR product. I need that. I need to test that. We're doing some really interesting things and interesting use cases. So a little atypical at HP, we took consumer products that came out of a different group and started shipping out to enterprise customers. And they provided us a lot of great feedback. In the automotive sector specifically, they needed a little more durability. They needed more manageability, security, some of the things that are kind of classical IT needs when you're doing large-scale deployments. So we took that feedback, we developed an enterprise derivative of that initial gaming product, and at the same time we started adding VR capabilities across our traditional desktop and notebook products as well. And all that kind of culminated about a year ago, and we actually set up a separate VR division at HP, specifically focused on enterprise use cases like in the automotive sector. And so the reason I mentioned that it's appropriate that we have all of us up here is once we started shipping that product, the next question we get from customers is, okay, this is really cool, but what in the world do I put in it? How do I get content out of CAD into an authored VR experience? That's not HP's expertise. That's folks like Rewind, Saul and Rick. So we were able to find partners like them that are able to create really bespoke experiences. It's just like a video game or it's just like a movie. Just getting the content and putting it out there isn't enough. It has to be put together in a way that's going to be interesting to the end consumer or to the designer. So if they're going to create something to show executives, they need to do it in such a way it's going to be compelling. If you're in a showrooming environment, it needs to be compelling. And so I think you're going to find as you go out and are looking for solutions in your industry to really speak to consumers, it's going to be more important than ever that you find companies that are able to put together the full solution stack, the hardware, bringing the content in out of whatever the CAD model is that you're working with, and then authoring a true experience. And we're going to have a chance to see what that looks like here in a little bit. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kumar from Intel, and he can talk a little bit more about how Intel is helping enable these types of solutions that we're going to be seeing this morning.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you, Alan. Hey, I always like to understand my audience first. Could I get a show of hands for who are the developers in this audience? Right, so it's about 30%. Who is actually from the industry, automotive industry? Okay, that's a good mix because that is important to understand that the work which Intel tries to do working with partners like HP is to bridge the gap between the developers in the ecosystem and the enterprise customers. HP and Intel understand enterprise customers, what to deploy in scale, and that is our strength. And what we are trying to do, working with partners like Rewind, is to translate the value they bring into enterprise use cases, enterprise adoptable use cases. 2018 has been the pivot to commercial VR or enterprise VR for the whole VR industry. But the challenge I see out there is mass market deployment, scale deployment is still limited. But automotive provides a very unique opportunity because it has the ability to adopt AR and VR technology top to bottom, from design, conceptualization, to production and manufacturing, to training and safety, to brand engagement and marketing and retail deployments. That end-to-end opportunity in the automotive space is one of the reasons why we are investing in this domain in a pretty aggressive way. We think scale deployments are possible in the automotive space, but similar to what Alan mentioned, it's limited by understanding of what it takes to integrate within existing workflows, from thinking about enterprise quality security, enterprise quality authentication, enterprise quality manageability, right? At the end of the day, you're working with customers who value the 3D data which you want to use and build content on, and we need to be respectful that they need to have full control over that. And that is what we are trying to do, trying to educate the industry that it's valuable to think about what the customer needs and building solutions against that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you guys so much. I think we're going to tell them a bit about Rewind, so I appreciate the help, and we'll bring you back up in a bit.
Yeah, so I founded Rewind 7 years ago, and we've had a really interesting journey. As soon as we stepped into using immersive content, we started working in the PR space, in the advertising, marketing, but the content we were producing became more and more valuable over time. The things that started off as a short weekend installation where you could put a headset on and fly around in a Red Bull Air Race plane started to look at, we want to release that onto the stores. But we've also begun to notice that the work that we were doing in that space began to influence enterprise clients. It began to change business models. It began to give people opportunity to create things never seen before. So as a case in point, we were talking about the work with our launch of the Jaguar I-Pace a couple of years ago. So that was 66 people all in headsets, all could see each other in a social space. 12 of them were in London, the rest of them in Los Angeles. And for the first time ever, they could see this car being tilt brushed out in front of them and drawn by the actual lead designer, who was actually being streamed in from a TV studio next door. That piece of theater was about 45 minutes long and really was a defining moment of how you can use VR to have that social experience. But it also had a trickle-down effect. It was going back into Jaguar's design teams. The first time their designers saw the vehicle was sitting in our studio in Unity in a real-time version of their car because they hadn't even got to the clay yet. And I was incredibly nervous. The first time we were always hung up on anti-aliasing and reflection maps and all the technical things that scare us about real-time rendering. But when they put the headset on, the first thing they were doing was looking around, and they went over to the dash and they said, well, we should probably move the wood grain to kind of a different direction. They were making design decisions in real time in something we were doing for something completely different. And that really was an eye-opener for us, that the work that we're doing within the marketing advertising space can suddenly have this huge impact on enterprise clients. And I'm probably preaching to the converted here. We all know how powerful it can be for the automotive industry. So I just wanted to show you probably 60 seconds of the type of stuff we've been doing over the last 12 to 18 months. So you can see the breadth of work and what we really consider what immersive is at the moment.
So as you can see, we've done a lot of work in the space, and largely in the sort of marketing and activation space. And really, what Rewind's become over the last 5, 6, even 7 years is really one of the better proof of concept digital companies. So we're very good at bringing a lot of different tech, both hardware and software, together to create solutions that prove that products can be built. Now, through partnerships with Intel and HP, we're entering the software space and starting to build out scalable solutions. And so what we want to introduce today is our first effort in that for the automotive industry. And it starts with the problem, or not problem, a challenge of a shifting market, where at this point, it's forecasted that by 2020, 40% of the automotive market will be made up of millennials. These are digital consumers that a lot of times are not ending up in the dealership. They're doing a lot of purchase decision making for themselves online with the amazing online configurators that you all in the automotive industry provide. But they're also not consulting someone on a sale of how a car, which in this case, especially for a millennial, is a lot about a lifestyle and what it enables. They aren't coming into the dealership to consult. And so we think there's opportunity through VR, to connect dealers a lot sooner. The dealership has really shifted in the last 5 years, which is sort of what I just got to, where you would go in maybe 5 to even 10 times to make a purchase decision 5 years ago. Today, it seems like a lot of consumers, especially younger consumers, are using the dealership for test drive, price negotiation, and pickup, which largely they've done their comparative shopping and really asked all the hard questions of both themselves and their family members before they even set foot in the dealership. But despite that, we still see word of mouth as being one of the most impactful, powerful marketing tools that we have at our disposal. The industry does a great job of arming consumers to impact others through word of mouth, whether it's, like I said, websites, configurators, et cetera. But I think at one point the car dealership was that place where you go in, you have a great meeting with your local dealer, and then you walk away super excited to tell your family. Some opportunity we see for VR is to actually make people more informed to really activate that word of mouth marketing channel.
And from that, as we were talking about millennials, 65% of them would be more likely to go into a dealership if there was immersive technology there. And that's 80% when it comes down to millennials.
Yeah.
And 82% is actually in the EU. So it's a huge opportunity for using VR in dealership. And there's been some great proof cases over the last couple of years. A lot of people are putting it in low-cost mobile VR headsets to allow you to see some of the other opportunities, see some of the other specifications of vehicles that may not be in the lot or in the dealer. And then other ones are putting in more substantial systems where they can have a full configurator from the back of it.
So we kind of have this bifurcation happening because of the introduction of digital, where you have a lot of the comparison shopping and even configuration happening online. And this, of course, is the sort of the top of the funnel, so there isn't much conversation happening with the dealership currently. You still, though, absolutely need to go into a dealership for the physicality of the product. It just isn't going to feel real from a 2D shot online. Additionally, for price negotiation and purchase, again, you're still going to the dealership. So what we want to talk to you about today is something we call sales drive. The long vision here is that VR is the best platform at passing a future vision or idea onto an audience that needs to understand what you're talking about. It takes all need for imagination away from your audience, and you don't have to just sort of wax poetic about what the future could look like. You can just show them and say, wouldn't this be cool if this was your life, if this was your car, if this was the lifestyle you could have because you stepped into one of our vehicles. What we're showing you today is going to be a live product demo, which is a huge no-no on stage.
It's a little scary.
It should work out.
It's only 3 network infrastructures in front of an audience that know what they're talking about.
Yeah, it'll be good.
It'll be fine.
It is prototype software. It's R&D, but we are a couple months into this. Have laid out a lot of the functionality of what this could be. But the goal is really to make a platform that can be used really when selling happens anytime in the automotive industry. So obvious stuff is in a dealership, but this also will work at home. And additionally, it will work as an internal sales tool. So anytime a designer or someone technical needs to sell a non-technical stakeholder internally on what the future could look like, this hopefully becomes that ideal platform. It's networked so it works around the world, and it is going to be great. I'm going to put on this now.
Before we get into it, let's just talk about
how.
So the opportunity, like I said, a couple of years ago, we really realized that the power of VR, as we know, is that feeling of presence, the feeling like you are somewhere else and what you're seeing in front of you is real. Now, what that was for a long time is we were looking into one-on-one experiences. But as soon as you put another human being in the space, even if they're represented by an avatar and you can have a conversation with them, the whole experience changes. It's not only that you're present in another universe, but you're present with someone. And that someone could be anywhere else in the entire world. So we started to think about how that can be influenced into sales drive. And we think that a dealer and a confidant and someone you can speak to that really understands the product but understands you can actually communicate and sell to you in a different way. And we're not trying to sell you something you don't want. We want to sell you something that enhances your life. So the key features.
Yeah.
You got a backpack.
I'm donning the latest in back-to-school fashion.
Oh, it looks
by
great
HP.
So one-on-one presentations on site, on location in a dealership or at home. So anyone in the world can dial in and have that connection. The full vehicle catalog is at the dealer's fingertips. So if they wanted to control what the person's seeing and just show them SUVs or just show them sports cars, they could. But obviously, every single specification is right there. Vehicle customization, obviously, we can allow it to be every leather type and anything in between. But also, we're putting in prompts and sales tools so that every salesperson knows exactly the sort of things they should be talking about at the right point. When we start looking into the boot, or the trunk, we should be talking about the size. We should be talking about the things that can go into that space. And then alongside...
Sorry, real quick on that. What I think is really important here to keep in mind is that in virtual reality, we have the ability to show the dealer information that the customer doesn't have to see. So effectively, that arms every dealer to be a super dealer where they'll never miss a piece of information again. They don't have to rifle through pamphlets or catalogs to have the stats on how big the engine is or what features are most important. Long-term and long vision for this, as we start to play in the AI space additionally, we can have smart prompts that are happening for the dealer as we go through this process where, as the conversation turns towards the boot or trunk, all the specifications can be popped automatically. So a dealer can say, oh yeah, it's this big and it has plenty of room for what you're looking for.
And then obviously we can bring in other pieces of content. We have the physicality of the virtual car in front of us, but what are the other things that are important to you? So is it the TV commercials? Is it a PowerPoint presentation you want to talk people through? And once you start building that space into a socially shared space where you can use it as not only a sales tool, but it could be a training tool. You could train all of your salespeople globally in an environment, in a headset at the same time, and talk to them about what the product is. And then the final thing, which we're pretty excited about, is that session reportings and analytics can be pretty interesting in this space.
Yep. Let's show those at the end, and we'll talk deeper about them.
So we've got to... Jumping in. Before we get... So Oliver's going to play the part of the client for us at this end.
Oh, I see.
Rick's going to play the part of the dealer.
I see we jumped in too early.
You did it? Wow,
Yeah,
I like it.
I was too excited. What's that? I think so. I might hold on.
So the user flow really goes that we have the ability to put the manufacturing data online, and we're building a system and tool that allows us to push information down to the individual dealers. So upload the vehicle, choose the presentation tools that you want and the sales tool you want that dealer to have, and then that's pushed down to their individual headsets wherever they may be. Maybe they're at HQ, or maybe they're actually the local dealer. And then that allows us to connect with the customers wherever they may be, out from that.
Sorry, real quick on that. The exciting part there is that as the manufacturer, you own full control of what your dealer abilities are. And then there's an additional set of control where the dealers can choose which features they want to show a customer or not. And because it's all powered through this CMS, you're sure that your assets are all uniform, so you have global messaging uniformity. Additionally, you can make sure that each of these apps almost feel custom for the customer. So when they come in, it's already an environment that's very easily tailored for them. Our mission at Rewind is to make the power of VR accessible for non-technical users. So every step of this process, you don't have to be a coder, you don't have to have high technical abilities, especially once you get down to the dealer and the customer. It's a lot of drag and drop, point and click, almost PowerPoint-esque intuitive.
It's to reduce friction points. We all know how hard it is currently. Even with the best software tools in the world, there are still some hurdles we all need to get over in trying to make it so it's completely accessible. So the user flow really, as how we see it at the moment, customer books themselves in for a consultation. Maybe they've come through an app, maybe they've come through the website. That really pops up into the dealer's kind of time frame, and they accept the request. They then start to prep the session, and they'll be given some details about the client along the way. So what sort of vehicle are they looking for? What are their lifestyles? Any other information that they've given them? Maybe some budgetary constraints that they want to work with him. That session is then joined, and the two people move together, and then they have that consultation live as if they're in the same space. After the session, and hopefully we've got some positive feedback from it. The whole session is saved, so they can have a recap at any point. A version of it is sent to the customer, so they can rewatch it themselves. But also the dealer gets a feedback report on how their presentation did. And for the good ones, we can share it around internally to say this went really well. And for the bad ones, we can share it around internally to say this didn't go so well. So what can we improve on? And then it's about getting that person into a vehicle themselves. There is a thing where we need to get the physicality. And I imagine a point when we'll actually just bring the car to the customer. So wherever they are at the right point, we drive them around one of their vehicles and set a time so they can get in it and have a go themselves. The CMS itself obviously runs off a website at the moment, so a back end, and that allows us to control what each dealer has. And that gives you the control at HQ to really control how much information is going out there. It might be everything, or it might be controlled setups, or you want to use individuals. And we imagine that the customers themselves are just logging in however they want to find it. I went through this process myself very recently. I'm very lucky. I've just had twins, so 2 identical boys have arrived. And I didn't realize that, well, I should have realized that twins means logistics are incredibly difficult. Cars suddenly are very small. The amount of things you need to take are very large. And I have to give up a lot of the things that I imagined that I was wanting to hold on to in my old hobbies. I had to put them down. But there was this point when I wanted to really see, could a stroller, could a buggy, could the car seats, could all the things fit into this lifestyle, into the vehicle? And the only way I could do it was actually go down to the dealership with all the bits and pieces and try it out, because the logistics of that was so important to me. And if I had this tool, which is part of the reason we did it, I considered the opportunity that I could move a lot faster and made some bigger decisions. So let's jump into a live tech demo and see how we do. I'll tab out of here, and customer view. We should be able to see.
I'm in and ready.
There you go. So we're in, so Rick's view's come up, so he's the dealer, and he's in this kind of what do we call it? It was called porcelain structural. That was it.
Yeah.
A structural space. It's to draw attention to the vehicle and the conversation we want to have. So this space is just a holding room. It could be in any flavor we want. It could be very specific to wherever the customer may be. It could be Los Angeles. It could be San Francisco. It could be in the forest. But in this case, we just wanted to talk about the vehicle. So over to you, Rick.
All right. So I'm not seeing you, Oliver. Is that?
I'm just coming in now.
Perfect. So again, you're seeing the dealer perspective. And the way that this works is that I actually have full control over the presentation from this viewpoint. I'll pull the car up in a second. As Oliver jumps in, I can also show you, the nice part is that I'm already teed up to understand a bit about the customer. So I already have some details about where they're from. They've indicated in the online shopping experience that they have a new family on the way. So I'm already armed with more information than a physical dealer has. It's not just a stranger off the street. I already have some idea of the car they're looking at, et cetera. And since I can't see the real world, I'll assume that something is happening.
I'll be with you in a moment, just loading
Okay,
you
no
into it.
worries. Do you want me to wait, or do you want me to pull up the car?
I think you can pull it up.
All right. So Oliver will be joining there. Hi, Oliver.
Hey, Rick.
So of course we're on stage together, but this works over a network, so anyone in the world from anywhere could jump in. Also worth noting, while I'm on an HP backpack, which is a super powerful machine and gives me a lot more ability with what I can drive from this perspective, Oliver's actually in a passive spectator view. So he could stream from any of the lightest, even mobile VR headsets out there and be able to tune in for this experience. We think that's probably the most likely way that the at-home consumer, as that market increases, will be joining some of these sessions. All right, so obviously we have a temp model here because what we want to talk about today is less about the customization and configurator stuff that I think is all pretty obvious at this point, and we wanted to focus more on the lifestyle cell. So Oliver, for the sake of, we won't get into super role play because we're not paid actors, as you can tell. Let's, what brings you in today, and can you tell me a little bit about some of the things that interested you in this new Q5?
Fantastic. So, as previously mentioned, I'm going to play the part of Solomon during this experience. So I
You don't have to have twins if you don't want twins.
Oh, well, 2 for 1, right?
It's true.
Get it done early. Yeah, so I'd love to see something in a crossover, but I'd really like to understand some of the physicality of that. from this remote location.
Great. Well, and as I mentioned, with some insight, knowing that he has a new family coming, I can actually tee it up and say, mention the fact that I saw you have a family coming, and easy, simple chat stuff like, when is your baby due? And it's at that point where Oliver will tell me that he's expecting twins. I guess this is probably part of the communication problem in VR at the moment. But so because I know that he's having twins, I can actually spin the car around so that he's got a great view of it. And Saul, are you seeing the side view?
Yeah, looks great.
Cool.
I can jump into Oliver's view just to show you that it's running an editor. You can see the whole thing is running in Unity and see his view. But we'll just jump back to Rick's view because I think it's the nicest one. So obviously, the shared space can be one-on-one, it can be one-on-two, or it could be one-on-many. And as Rick said, we're running on 2 HP headsets at the moment, but the ability to stream that information down onto any mobile device, a mobile headset means we can have as much access as we want. So the physicality about this, we understand in VR, and you know when you're in a headset, that what you see is what you believe you're looking at. And so when it comes down to how many things can you fit in the back of it, if you want to spin the car around to give yourself kind of the trunk view, and we can look at...
Well, let me go through let me throw the car seats in.
Okay.
So if you cut to Oliver's view.
Yep.
Obviously, as a dealer, I'm having this conversation, thinking he's having one child. As soon as he tells me he's having twins, I can actually pop the second car seat in there. And this was a real situation that Saul just went through. He spent hours and hours. Are you guys seeing that?
Yeah, looks great.
He spent hours and hours. Shopping for just online to find images of the, as they call pram, but car seat, to make sure that it would fit inside the car that he wanted, because of course safety is paramount. And Saul, do you want to tell him a bit about how that actually happened, or where you went physically?
Yeah, so I had to take the car to a location, and the only way I could really find out was to put all those physical objects in the back of the car. And I didn't realize once you have 2 car seats, and you have a double pram, there is no other room left, especially in English cars, which are much smaller than American vehicles. If I could have got an Escalade, I think that would have been the only chance to deal with twins at this point. So if you want to spin the boot round, spin the car around to have a look at the boot, maybe show Oliver how you can fit a stroller into it.
All right. So again, all these things are pretty accessible under relatively intuitive markers here. Again, obviously trunk space is a huge issue, and so I can throw any lifestyle objects in here that I want. I chose the baby stroller knowing that he's having a new family, but to show them that there's still plenty of room for everything else. Now,
to that point, Rick,
I'm sorry?
I used to get out and do things. I used to be able to, have some hobbies before the children came
You're not giving
along.
up all of your life. Well, knowing that, then, I can easily, I think I'm going to close some of this stuff. I can easily jump back and, knowing that if in this case you did have an active lifestyle that you still want to really embrace and you're worried about losing that with a family, obviously vehicles cater to lifestyle. And so we can pop some of your old interests, let's say a bike on the roof rack, to explain that there's still room for the whole family and the toys that you enjoy.
I'd like to say I could still surf in the UK, but it's way too cold, and my wife has definitely made me give that up. Cycling is about all I can hold on to at the moment.
I think that's probably for the best. All right.
So from that point, we've had a session, we've talked them through, we've found out what the customer is really interested in. Obviously, we could expect any vehicle of any type he wanted, but this was more about what is it going to affect his lifestyle. And after the session's over, so Oliver, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Perfect. So I actually have the control here I click this button, yes?
If you want to kick him out.
Sure. And so what we do here, so just by clicking this button, I then am able to exit the session with Oliver. But I also can, this automatically will bundle up a report analytics and send, like we said, an app where Oliver can then take his partner, his family, and put the headset on them and show them exactly what he saw today, so that he can sort of effectively activate that word of mouth marketing. Now,
if you want to show the analytics, I think that's probably pretty interesting right now.
So let's assume Oliver's out of this session. He's off on his way selling his family. I now, as the salesperson, get to jump back and actually see a recap of analytics from the session. In this case, we're showing off a hotspot, tracking map that will show where Oliver was actually interested. So while we may have been talking about the roof rack and that lifestyle, it turns out that he was most interested in the trunk space or the custom rims, which I completely skipped and forgot to show you. But obviously this can configure a car in any way imaginable. But this is super powerful for a couple reasons. One, as a one-to-one dealer, I get to know how I'm doing, and if my customer is interested, I can then build sales funnels around that and figure out how likely they are to buy. But at a macro level, we can aggregate for a whole automotive brand, we can aggregate your global sales force and understand what's relevant in what markets, what features are resonating, and then, as we talked about earlier, we have insights to know which salespeople and methods are truly working to bring people on board and get them inside one of your cars.
And hopefully that conversation starter allows you to find out, in this case, Oliver spent a lot of time looking at the wheels, so it was an important thing to him. Or maybe it was the stereo, or maybe it was a key part of the vehicle. But we were talking about earlier that the opportunity to take that data back into design. What are the bits of this vehicle which were the most attractive? What did people pay attention to the most? Getting that design review all the way through, we're so used to having that sort of analytics data when it comes to web design and anything else, that why shouldn't we have it in automotive as well?
Yep. So we forgot this part, but obviously we can change any feature on this car. This can have a deep, deep data set that shows off really anything that's in your catalog, in your car catalog.
Okay.
And that's a live demo with no crashes, which
I'll give you a round of
I think
applause.
is pretty good.
You played the part of a dealer very well. Maybe that's the job you should go to
I'll
next.
stick to my day job, but
And Oliver, that was a terrible impression of how people have twins. You need to be a lot tireder. So for us, as we were talking about, the idea of this analytics tool at the end of it is really, really important to us. That idea of being able to watch what people look at and give that data back to the brand, the customer, the car company, could be really, really powerful. Once we start getting some additional data into it, so you could imagine the idea of having eye tracking in future technologies or biometric measuring, so heart rate monitors, we can actually start looking at not only what they are doing consciously, but what they're doing subconsciously. What are they really paying attention to?
Yep. And we've done a lot of this stuff already through some of our other activations, so now scaling it to a platform is pretty natural for us. We've done a lot of market testing at this point and are really looking at this point for partners as well that can help us get this into the marketplace and understand what works as we focus on truly solving hard problems in the automotive industry. So
we really think that Sales Drive can fit really nicely in the middle and solves the two needs. That idea of that currently the only place to get, most millennials are looking at comparison shopping. They want to configure online, but they don't get any physicality. Whereas the dealership has all that physicality and has the ability to really negotiate a purchase. If we can put people together in virtual reality faster and be more efficient and really give the customer what they need, we're not trying to sell something to someone that they don't want. We're just trying to help them live their life better.
Yeah. And we're also breaking down some of those barriers. So in a world where people have everything delivered from groceries to clothes right to their home, this is an opportunity for the automotive industry to go inside the home and break down the barriers for that initial conversation of a real person, locally networked. So it's your real dealer. So when you meet George, the car dealer, when you set up a test drive for that Saturday, you go in and you meet George in real person, in real life. It's sort of the perfect blend of technology and real world experience to complete a car sale.
So the long vision.
So the long vision, like I said, we want to be there every step of the way. We are traditionally sort of a work-for-hire business, but as we transition into software, we want this to be as open and available to you as possible. This isn't how we sell more services. We actually want to unlock this power for everyone. So you own your data, you do what you want with your data. We just layer on more and more tools and abilities so that you have the flexibility and the freedom to connect with your customer in new ways. We want to be there through the whole chain, all the way internally with design. And we're starting to use this tool internally as we develop pitches and we develop projects. We can actually review work in VR through this platform. Obviously, we talked a lot today about the dealer and customer relationship. Where we're really excited is, of course, the UI interfaces. I think if you stack up all the future tech that we see coming, whether it's blockchain, AI, AR, VR, autonomous vehicles, et cetera, I think VR companies and AR companies building software like this are going to be the ones that figure out effectively the swipe of the future, the user interface, the graphical user interface of the future will come out of this industry. And it's by getting on the ground and working with customers today to really figure out what's intuitive, what's natural, what feels right, and what pushes the automotive industry forward.
And as we were talking about our partnership, so we're incredibly lucky to be working with HP and Intel on this. And it's really that good hardware needs good software. And they don't work separately. You need those two things in partnership. And that means that we need to be able to make software that shows off what this equipment can do, but also that just makes the customer's experience more delightful, more joyful. It reduces friction points. We want this to be simple. And we're very, very lucky about that.
We are. I don't know how we're doing on time. We can do
We had a small
anyone know what
wave
time
from
it-
the man in the corner, which meant hurry up.
Oh,
But we have about 10 minutes left, and we're happy to do.
is that right? No, we don't have 10 minutes left. Well, thank you so much. We're going to bring our partners back on stage, but I think we're good. Again, we are looking for partners in this space, and I know HP and Intel are available and obviously global and massive. So if you'd like to get in touch with any of us, I'm Rick at rewind.co. Saul is S-O-L. Saul at rewind.co. We'll be more than happy to connect you with HP and Intel, or of course reach out to their global businesses as they are absolutely massive. Again, thanks to our partners, HP and Intel, Kumar and Alan, and then again to Audi, who's been incredibly supportive as we've sort of prototyped this software.
And thank you for letting us show our proof of concept to you guys and understanding that an educated audience is going to pick us apart. But I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, guys.